TARDIS, welcome to the Fifth Doctor himself. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Peter Davison. First, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Right off the bat, probably one of the questions everyone wants to know about is the five-ish Doctors. The greatest anniversary special since the Five Doctors.
It's great, isn't it? You finally get to my age and you realise what you should have been doing for the last 50 years. It's tragic. No, it was, I'm very glad that it went down so well. So thank you everyone who liked it. It was really all your fault it was made, because I think when summer before last I was asked a question at a convention over here, were we going to be in the 50th anniversary special? And I really foolishly said, I think we weren't. But if we weren't, I was damn well going to make my own. I didn't really think too much about it at that point, and then I did another convention over here about 2 months later, and someone said, you said you were going to make your own. Is that true? I thought, oh my Lord, I'm going to have to do it. So this idea was sort of germinating in my head, based on just the idea that I was going to try and get into it, sneak into it. And so then I thought, well, how about getting Colin and Sylvester on board? So I asked them if they wanted to, would be prepared to come along with me on the journey, and they said yes. So I sat down and wrote the script. But that time it was going to be done just on my little video camera. I'd done a couple of other videos for Gallifrey one, so that was my plan. And as I wrote this thing, I kept thinking of more things to put in it. And it got quite, I realised it was going to be at least 15 minutes long. And I asked Stephen Moffat if he would make a brief appearance as the villainous producer. Actually, I didn't use the word villainous. I just said, would you make an appearance as the producer? And he said, yes, no, I'd love to. So then I realised I had to film at Cardiff, and so I sent the script to Cardiff just to get their okay. And that's when they said, would you come down here and meet with us? And I thought, oh...
You thought you were being chastised.
Oh, dear. This is the big close down. So I went down there and they said, well, we love it, so we'd like to give you a little camera crew and hardly any money. And I was really, I thought, great, I'm actually going to have a camera crew. And then I realised that although I'd written it and it got people on board, I had no director at all, so I just never thought about it. So then I found myself behind the camera and in front of the camera, and actually finding myself going, and action. We just continued from there, and as it went along, we thought more bits to stick in. As I said before, everyone we asked to be involved in the project said yes, with one exception.
Does his name start with a T?
As I said, I was asked about it last week, and I said he didn't let us down in letting us down, because he was. And so I was talking about this with a friend of mine, Rhys Thomas, we were just talking about his big Doctor Who fan, and I told him about this idea. If Tom wouldn't do it, that we just use exactly the same clip as we've used in the Five Doctors. And he said, he sat there and thought about it, because he'd been very keen that I should get Tom, and he said, I think that's funnier. We did it, we filmed it, and we didn't know how it would go. And then the BBC wanted to cut about 6 or 7 minutes out of it. And I said, no! Because I just thought, I tried to explain that this thing about it is, and they were incredibly helpful, the BBC, don't get me wrong, and Stephen came along and did his part as as a producer. There was a magic moment actually when he was filming that scene, if anybody's seen it, right at the end, where he's sitting in front of the editing suite, where he suddenly stopped talking, went, hang on a minute, I'm the villain in this, aren't I? And I said, have you only just realised that? But they were incredibly helpful, the BBC, and we had some fantastic people down in Cardiff helping us arrange it. But they did want to cut all this stuff out. And I said, look, this is, the people who I'm making this for are not the enormous breadth of everyone who will watch the 50th anniversary special, and they will love that. I wanted to make it for the people who were going to miss the fact that we weren't in it. And so it's people who would go out looking for this, you know, when it was advertised. So they're not going to mind if there's an odd bit when it's a bit slow, or they think, but actually I think they cut it down really well. And even if they do find it quite slow, I said, they'll probably go out and edit it themselves.
The fan edit will take over. Was there anything that you cut out of it? Anything that you felt, well, we tried something, but it didn't work?
No, there were three. There was one, actually I've got it here, 3 deleted scenes, but I'm not allowed to show it yet, for some reason. But yeah, I complained to the management. But I think it's only 3 short little scenes in the end that we lost. And that was a Hobbit gag, which I wasn't quite sure about anyway. And there's one other bit which explains, as somebody in a tweet I saw the other day said, the mysterious Bavarian lady at the lift. Because she features in another bit which we did cut out. But apart from that, apart from those 3, maybe 4 tiny bits, there's nothing that we lost, really.
The thing that really amazed me is you have Peter Jackson in there. You're on the set of the...
Yeah, he's my... he's
was that an easy sell?
Well, I like to think of him as my second unit director. No, that was fantastic. You know, when I came up with the idea of Sylvester doing The Hobbit, when I first asked Sylvester if he'd come along, he said, yeah, I'd love to. He said, but I am filming The Hobbit. And I thought, well, that's perfect, because I'm going to keep putting in the script about how you keep going on about filming The Hobbit. And so when I gave Sylvester the script, the actual script, he fell in love with it. And so he kind of became the character that you see in the 5-ish Doctors. We would do a convention, and he'd just spend the whole time going to the audience, by the way, you know, I'm in The Hobbit. Big motion picture directed by Peter Jackson. I thought, I've now created Sylvester's character. But I said, what do you think about Peter Jackson just reacting? I just wanted to have a shot initially of the assistant going up to him. He didn't hear what he said. And Peter Jackson says, he's gone where? And when I sent Peter Jackson the script, just, you know, on the off chance that I caught him on a very good day, he just emailed back and said, yeah, no, I'd love to do it. And he said, and I've shown it to Ian McKellen and he wants to join in. So I did write the line of him going, about Sylvester, and he'd go, Sylvester, ooh. No one can really do that like Ian McKellen. No, it was just extraordinary, really.
It's amazing that the 3 of you have genuine chemistry. Did that come from just hanging out together over so many years doing conventions?
Again, I think it comes from hanging out at conventions, really. I mean, that's where we know each other. Obviously, none of us worked together on the show. I mean, I did a bit with Colin, obviously, because first of all, he shot me. And then I didn't manage to get the antidote inside me in time to avoid turning into Colin Baker.
What I really appreciated was the idea that everyone had a chance to shine, to have that funny moment. It seemed like everyone had their... I mean, Colin, I'll call Tom, is just brilliant, you know? It almost seems like it's right for him because of his...
Well, we did kind of merge, turn into our characters. We managed to sort of, take what was there on the paper and sort of turn it into... So Colin became the sort of slightly pompous man, he trapped his family inside his house and forced them to watch episodes of Doctor Who. and I was the character who was continually crushed by my children because they just weren't interested at all, which is tragically very close to real life. So, yeah, and of course the idea that, which, if anyone has ever seen the earlier short videos, the idea that I torment David Tennant and force him to be in things.
In his apartment.
That's of course not true at all. The fact that he has appeared in each of the videos is just neither here nor there. Anyway, it's very good, and I got about shortly after, but it obviously was getting, on a roll. I realised that I kind of had too much to do because I was, directing it, I was in it, and I was writing little bits for it. And so I got my daughter Georgia on board as a producer. And I think people think she was just in it in name only, but she really wasn't. She was actually right there getting people on board. And because in a lot of cases it was getting past the agent that was the problem. And when we came up with the idea for John Barrowman, the big problem was we couldn't get past his agent at first. But Georgia just rang up and sort of talked to them to his agent on the phone, and of course using the magical surname that she has now. And once we got past the agent, John was fantastic. He just came out and we had a terrible day. The weather was terrible when John came out. It was raining, but he was right there and doing everything. And the same with Sean Pertley. We were told by the agent, "Oh no, you won't want to do this." No, absolutely not. And we almost gave up. And then we just thought, we'll just try and work around the agent. And once we did, Sean said, "No, absolutely, sure, come on and do it." Yes. And we had Olivia Colman, and I know that a few people over here don't know who Olivia, well, you know who she is, but you don't realise the significance of that opening scene. Olivia Colman is a brilliant actress, and for years she was playing marvellous supporting roles in things. Until about 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, people suddenly realised quite how brilliant she was, and suddenly she gets offered all these things. So she literally is around everywhere. So I just thought it'd be lovely to have her there going, why aren't I in it? I'm usually in everything. So she just came along and said, yes, of course, I'll do it.
Has this opened your mind to directing more? Because it really is brilliant.
I don't know.
The best directors are often actors.
I don't know. I mean, I would probably love to. I mean, I was aware while I was doing this that it was I'd never had a moment to spare, and it was fantastic. When you're an actor normally, you arrive on set and you've learned the words to your scene, hopefully, and they go, "Oh, we're overrunning a bit, so could you go and sit in your caravan for 4.5 hours?" And so you sit there, read a book and things like that, waste time. An awful lot of your life as an actor is spent wasting time. And when I was directing it, I had no time to waste at all. I was, if I wasn't in the scene, we were then looking at shots for the next scene, I was getting the script ready for the next scene after that. And so, yeah, I enjoyed it enormously. Quite what it would be if it wasn't all my own project, I just don't know.
In other words, if someone handed you a script, you might feel differently about it.
Yeah, I think maybe I would. I mean, the answer, of course, is to become a kind of UK version of Woody Allen. Just do the whole thing yourself. My ambition is very low, isn't it? I know. I think maybe I should be a bit more realistic. But I mean, what I mean by that is, it's just so fantastic if you come up with a project and I was very passionate. When we got to the editing stage, and I was battling with the powers that be about the length of it, I kept saying to them, look, I am really passionate about this project now because it's so close to me that I'm going to fight you for every frame because I just think it's important. And obviously if you're doing something where you've been employed to be a director and doing a script that's not yours, you're not going to feel quite like that. which might be a good thing, because I was fairly strident, I discovered, when, in defense of the little project.
Yeah, when I first saw that the piece was over half an hour long, I was kind of surprised, because usually these sort of little things they throw out there are 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
Yeah.
The length of it caught me off guard, but then once you're watching, you don't want it to end.
No, I mean, it's difficult to know. I did say, look, I said, this might be too long, I don't know, but if it is too long, I will take the blame for it. You won't take the blame for it. And I just felt, we shaved bits off here and there, but we really didn't lose very much at all. And as I say, it comes down to the fact that already people are, when I mentioned, I tweeted, I can't really get on with this tweeting, but I did tweet little explanations about things that we had cut, because people had asked, for example, why Colin's copy of The Hobbit looked a bit thin. Anyway, there's an explanation for that. The point was really that I don't know. I just felt it was important that people had access to all the bits. I didn't want to make it a shorthand, thing. I wanted to tell the story in a narrative, and I said it's not going to be judged as an episode of Doctor Who as such, where pace is obviously really, really important. In a way, I like the idea that it was not slow, but you know what I mean? We were just telling the story, and the narrative always seemed to me worked. There were no holes in it, I didn't think. There were little offshoots, like the bit where Colin, traps his family in the house. But then, I can't. They did want to take that out, actually, to be honest with you. But it's been mentioned in so many reviews as being so typically what an actor's life is. The only way we can get everyone to watch, lock all the doors, and this is it. They're going to sit down and watch me. So I was very gratified with the fact that they actually really liked that scene.
At what point did your cameo and Colin's cameo and Sylvester's cameo in Day of the Doctor materialize? I know there was one point where the script for Day of the Doctor came your way. Was that something deliberate all along, that you knew, how do we eventually work our way into this? How did that come about?
Well, what happened was they were filming it, the Day of the Doctor, when we first started, and we needed to come up with an idea of getting us into it, and I came up with the idea of the Daleks, but I said that obviously is not going to be in the end scene. So we then had to say, well, I said, well, you could just come along at the end and cut it. And then we had the problem, well, that's going to be like a downbeat ending after all this thing. So is there anything else we can do? And Stephen said, well, we do have this scene in the Undergallery that we're doing with the Zygons. And so I thought, well, maybe we could do a double ending then, rather than change it to just them hiding under the Zygon. We could have them in the Daleks. They then cut them. I'm giving it away if no one's watched it. But so you ended that actually with, yes, they did do it. That's the reason I had the script, because I just wanted to look through it and see if we had any moments where we could do exactly that. We could sneak in, Yeah. And I did get a copy of it. And of course, this was difficult because this was at a time when there was much speculation about whether we were actually in it. So, of course, the moment I let slip that I had a copy of the 50th anniversary special with my name,
you broke the internet.
People just thought this meant that we were in it. And I found that all the way along, it's very difficult to persuade people that we weren't. Even when we were tweeting at one point, when we were filming outside Television Centre in London, holding big protest cards saying no classics, no 50th, and things like that. People took pictures of it, and there was great discussion in the sort of the Doctor Who community forums about whether this meant, well, some people thought it meant we weren't in it. Some people thought we were really protesting for real, and some people thought it was just a ruse because we really were in it. Yeah. Five-ish Doctors is now seen as part of the package. So it's very much part of the whole thing. And there was a bit of, when I think it became obvious that Tom was in the 50th and we weren't, there was a bit of, unhappiness about it, a bit of disappointment. But I was always in this mixed, this strange position, because if we had been in it, playing a man standing outside, you know, a pub or an art gallery, we would never have been able to do this. We wouldn't have been able to do it. And so it wouldn't exist. The whole point was that we were able to make this because we weren't in it. So I didn't mind that when we weren't in it.
It was absolute genius, because now everyone will watch these shimmering shapes, and there's no way to get it out of your head. Once you've seen it, you can't unsee.
That's it.
That's
Yay.
it. Brilliant. A few moments to ask you, because I know I'm probably not going to get an answer on this, but I'll ask you anyway. Were the three of you underneath there?
Of course we were.
And there's no way to prove otherwise, is there?
What?
There's no way to ever prove otherwise.
No,
it's
there's
the
no way.
genius
No,
of it all.
there isn't. No,
It's
we're there.
brilliant.
Great too. But I was wondering, how was it? Was it really easy to get Russell P. Davies to come in on that? And actually, just sort of describe how you got him to do that.
Well, I then thought, you know, we came up with this idea. We wanted to get Russell in here somewhere. And we thought, well, how can we get him? And I thought, well, maybe the best thing is to have him ring up, because he's heard about the fact we're making the thing. And I thought, well, we can't do that because the structure of it is that we're not making it. So then I thought, well, we'll have to stop making it. So which is why there's the bit where we suddenly go, okay, we've got everything now, you can cut. Which is suddenly makes it into something that we finished filming. And then we could have him ringing up and go, oh, Peter, I heard you're making this video. Can I begin it? So I wrote this speech. So the first part of the speech, you see, the first maybe 2 bits, I sort of written for Russell to say, you know, I've heard you're going to be in it. I thought, after all, there wouldn't be a doctor if it wasn't for me. That's me. And so we went down to film him in his little house in Swansea, and Russell came out and said, oh, you know, I'm really going to be really terrible at this. I don't know what I'm doing, you know. So I said, well, don't worry. If you like, I said, we can write the words on a board for you. And he said, no, it'll be fine, it'll be fine. So we set the camera up, and we turned over, and he went through the first part of the speech, and then he just kept going. I was aware that we had way too much, but I just liked it. So we put a camera on from a different angle, and we said, okay, try it again. And he just carried on again. So when we came to editing, I was feeling a bit bad. And then I thought, well, is there any reason why we can't just keep cutting back to Russell? So it was only meant to be that first bit where they were at the coach. But I thought, well, we'll just keep cutting back to him, talking. And then I used to have a mobile phone. I don't think they do it now, but there's one company in Britain, certainly, that when you've left your phone on, you've rung someone, or someone's left their phone on, it actually does say, you know, the next message is, you know, 40 minutes long. I thought, well, we'll just put that in. So, because that's the idea that Russell just keeps rabbiting on and on and on. And of course, the longer he's been rabbiting on and on, the better it works when I just listen to the first sentence, go, delete it. But he was fantastic. He's very good. I didn't want to cut any of him out of it.
Was with that struggle, because I'm sure it was.
Well, you know, it wasn't. Tom Baker wasn't so much of in my head, we're talking about now, as a struggle as people think over here. In the UK, he was just the fourth Doctor. I'd grown up watching William Hartnell and Patrick Troughton and then John Pertwee. And my favourite, my Doctor was Patrick Troughton. So I was far more intimidated. By following him, strangely, than I was Tom. Now, I'm very aware when I come to the US and indeed some other countries that you had mostly just seen Tom. So to you, it must have been a real shock to see this upstart from a vet series suddenly playing the Doctor. But to me, I just wanted to bring back a bit of Patrick Troughton's idea of the Doctor into the programme, a bit more vulnerability. And so that was what I was worrying about. Tom, I hadn't really watched Tom. I'd seen episodes of him as I had of John Pertwee's, but by that time I was, to become an actor, and I'd become interested in other things. And so John Baker wasn't really that much on my horizon.
Well, you did it amazingly.
Thank you.
It's interesting, last weekend you told Graham Norton that you set a trend by being the youngest Doctor, because he had asked you about what was it like being the youngest, and now all of a sudden you're this trendsetter with back-to-back young doctors, but now Peter's going to change that up a little bit.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the casting of Peter Capaldi?
Oh, I think it's a brilliant choice. You know, when Matt announced he was leaving, that's the cue for the British tabloid press to suddenly weigh in with their list of ridiculous people who might play the Doctor. And there are one or two exceptions to that. Some of the names that were mentioned early on would have been quite nice, but for the majority of cases, it's a pretty lamentable list they come up with. And the nature of these newspapers is they announce with almost absolute, definitely, that so-and-so is going to be playing the Doctor. They've accepted the Doctor, and you're just thinking, oh no. And I remember when Peter Capaldi's name first came into the frame, which was only about 3 or 4 days before it was announced he was doing it. It was the first time that I really went, now that's a good idea. Because I think it's a brilliant idea. I think it would be very good.
I thought when his name was first bandied about right before the announcement, I thought, there's no way they're getting Peter Capaldi.
Yeah.
And then little did we know, there he was.
That's right.
And he was a fan too.
He was a fan, yes. And I was on the program where they announced it, and they said right at the end, because Peter appeared and they started firing these great things at him, you know, confetti. And then they said to us, just go on, and give him a bit of advice. So I thought, oh, I'm not going to go and give Peter Capaldi advice. So I went on there as the credits rolled and gave him a hug and just said in his ear, what the hell have you done?